Oftentimes, these kind of people have dysfunctional private lives, like Elon Musk or Will Smith. Doubting yourself is a very natural thing, and I've done a video about it, which relates to the topic at hand. We will be talking about the moments when you felt like a phony, that you don't deserve what you've got. If you go through those moments, that means that you have a healthy filtering process of the ego, which can of course go overboard, but if you lack that, it can be a sign of narcissism or at least arrogance. Let's see what feeling fake too much can relate to.
Even after writing 11 books and winning several prestigious awards, Maya Angelou couldn't escape the nagging doubt that she hadn't really earned her accomplishments. Albert Einstein experienced something similar. He described himself as an involuntary swindler whose work didn't deserve as much attention as it had received. Accomplishments at the level of Angelou's or Einstein's are rare, but their feeling of fraudulence is extremely common. Why can't so many of us shake feelings that we haven't earned our accomplishments, or that our ideas and skills aren't worthy of others' attention?
As she said, this feeling is very common. The difference between those who go very long in life and those who do not contribute too much to society or overall good lies in the way we tackle those feelings. The attitude. In my personal observation, the older you get, the harder it becomes to smooth out those edges, and feeling fake becomes damaging to your self-esteem. I mean, when you're a child and you do mistakes, you don't really care, but when you're an adult, it becomes shameful, and there's a substantial reason to that. The older you get, the more you start to identify yourself with your achievements, the external feedback that you get from society and from your own accomplishments, separating yourself from your human worth and leaning fully onto your abilities and capabilities, which if you lack becomes detrimental to your feeling of self-worth. There are two concepts that we're dealing with here, and I will delve into those later on.
Psychologist Pauline Rose Clance was the first to study this unwarranted sense of insecurity. In her work as a therapist, she noticed many of her undergraduate patients shared a concern. Though they had high grades, they didn't believe they deserved their spots at the university. Some even believed their acceptance had been an admissions error. While Clance knew these fears were unfounded, she could also remember feeling the exact same way in graduate school. She and her patients experienced something that goes by a number of names: imposter phenomenon, imposter experience, and imposter syndrome.
Those two concepts that I was talking about is self-esteem and confidence. When people come into this world, they are being themselves fully. As children, as they grow older, they suck in all the external influence and start to identify themselves with what they do outwardly, totally forgetting about developing their sense of harmony, where you appreciate life as it is, without any achievements, accomplishments, or however the society sees you. You lack groundedness, and you only rely on signs of appreciation from others, on what you can do for others, and the value that you provide. Hence, if you don't contribute in any way, you become diminished in your sense of self-worth, i.e. making your happiness be dependent on external validation.
Together with colleague Suzanne Imes, Clance first studied imposterism in female college students and faculty. Their work established pervasive feelings of fraudulence in this group. Since that first study, the same thing has been established across gender, race, age, and a huge range of occupations, though it may be more prevalent and disproportionately affect the experiences of underrepresented or disadvantaged groups. To call it a syndrome is to downplay how universal it is. It's not a disease or an abnormality, and it isn't necessarily tied to depression, anxiety, or self-esteem.
I don't really agree with that statement where she says that it doesn't depend on self-esteem. I mean, she's contradicting herself by mentioning insecurity and then saying that it has nothing to do with self-esteem. You can be a novice, not quite good with something, but still recognize that you will be okay. And with time, with some practice, with some experience, you will get better at it. Instead of backing and closing yourself off, thinking that you are idiot or stupid, retarded in any way. Yeah, those kind of people do exist. I had a friend who had a lot of performance anxiety, and the smallest bumps in his road made him insecure. And also, of course, this phenomena affects more high achievers, people who have dedicated a lot of time, energy, resources into building something externally, seldomly have put an effort to understand who they are, why they do the things they do. They behave like dogs chasing cars. Oftentimes, these kind of people have dysfunctional private lives, like Elon Musk or Will Smith and other rich people who are very successful in the eyes of the public.
Where do these feelings of fraudulence come from? People who are highly skilled or accomplished tend to think others are just as skilled. This can spiral into feelings that they don't deserve accolades and opportunities over other people. And as Angelou and Einstein experienced, there's often no threshold of accomplishment that puts these feelings to rest. Feelings of imposterism aren't restricted to highly skilled individuals either. Everyone is susceptible to a phenomenon known as pluralistic ignorance, where we each doubt ourselves privately, but believe we're alone in thinking that way because no one else voices their doubts. Since it's tough to really know how hard our peers work, how difficult they find certain tasks, or how much they doubt themselves, there's no easy way to dismiss feelings that we're less capable than the people around us.
As I said initially, these kind of feelings are very normal and they have to come up from time to time in order to shake us up, put us straight, and make us more focused on our goals. When you doubt yourself, it's more likely because you have been marching on a cruising speed and it's time for you to adapt, to change, and make some adjustments in order to become better. But if those feelings can be overwhelming and appear too often, that means that you have to work on yourself, on your self-esteem, and the reason why you chase the things you chase. Is it that you're curious about something specific, or is it because that you have to prove something to others? Curiosity and creativity go hand in hand. But if you have to prove something to others, it may lead to catastrophic consequences, where you push yourself so hard that you become burned out. You lack self-esteem, you blame on yourself, on your incompetence, and the vicious circle of unhealthy behavior, unhealthy thought process continues.
Intense feelings of imposterism can prevent people from sharing their great ideas or applying for jobs and programs where they'd excel. At least so far, the most surefire way to combat imposter syndrome is to talk about it. Many people suffering from imposter syndrome are afraid that if they ask about their performance, their fears will be confirmed, and even when they receive positive feedback, it often fails to ease feelings of fraudulence. But on the other hand, hearing that an advisor or mentor has experienced feelings of imposterism can help relieve those feelings. The same goes for peers.
The problem with imposter syndrome is that people hang on to those feelings and take them too seriously. The best way to deal with them is to continue on with your research, with your work, with your achievements, regardless of the emotions that you're experiencing, because emotions are temporary. Of course, it can be very frightful to think of yourself as becoming a master from being a student. It's a shocking realization that you have advanced so much in your area that people care about your opinions, which is one of the reasons why you should become successful very slowly, to allow yourself to mature, to become wiser. The reason why you should never envy the people who have become very rich at early age. Imagine the burden on their shoulders, the whole world looking at them at young, ripe age, and they don't even understand what the predicament they have put themselves in by just being great at what they do.
Even simply finding out there's a term for these feelings can be an incredible relief. Once you're aware of the phenomenon, you can combat your own imposter syndrome by collecting and revisiting positive feedback. One scientist who kept blaming herself for problems in her lab started to document the causes every time something went wrong. Eventually, she realized most of the problems came from equipment failure and came to recognize her own competence. We may never be able to banish these feelings entirely, but we can have open conversations about academic or professional challenges. With increasing awareness of how common these experiences are, perhaps we can feel freer to be frank about our feelings and build confidence in some simple truths. You have talent, you are capable, and you belong.
You have talent, you are capable, and you belong. Yeah, we all belong, but this is more about having enough wisdom to understand why you're experiencing those emotions and not just trying to smooth out the rough edges with positive reinforcements. You are where you are because of your decisions, because of the work you have put in. And yeah, there are some instances where people have arrived because of nepotism, but that's exception. The main thing you have to remind yourself is to not cling onto those emotions. They mean nothing. It's only your mental demons trying to fight you and make you a tough son of a bitch. If you have missed the video about self-doubt, watch it here. What's your secret trick in those situations? And how do you tackle the imposter syndrome? Tell me in the comment section. But for now, Hussein out.